Daily night prayer, healing, blessings, and strength before sleep. Night has a way of exposing what the daylight manages to conceal. When the noise fades, when the demands of the day finally release their grip, the mind begins to speak more loudly, sometimes with peace, but often with unrest. Many people lay down at night physically exhausted, yet unable to rest, because the weight of unfinished worries, hidden fears, and silent battles rises to the surface. It is in this fragile moment between wakefulness and sleep that prayer becomes more than a ritual. It becomes a lifeline. A true night prayer is not about routine words whispered out of habit. It is about entering into the presence of God at the very moment your spirit feels most vulnerable. The day has drained you. Your mind is replaying events. Your heart is carrying wounds that were never voiced. And tomorrow's uncertainties already knock at the door of your thoughts. If you let these voices dominate, sleep becomes restless, and strength is stolen before the new day even begins. But when you choose to begin the night in communion with God, the entire atmosphere shifts. Peace replaces anxiety, assurance silences doubt, and a deep sense of protection surrounds you as you prepare to rest. Think about the difference it makes when the first words you speak before sleep are not complaints, not regrets, not sighs of despair, but declarations of faith. Imagine whispering, "Lord, I place this day in your hands. I lay down every fear, every burden, every wound, and I trust you to heal, to bless, and to strengthen me for tomorrow." Those words are not just sounds. They are acts of surrender that realign the soul with divine truth. And that surrender allows the mind to quiet, the heart to heal, and the body to rest under the covering of God's presence. Science confirms what Scripture has declared for centuries. The quality of rest determines the quality of life. A restless night leads to a weary day, but deep rest restores clarity, focus, and resilience. Yet no scientific method can bring the kind of rest that prayer brings, because prayer does more than calm the body. It restores the soul. Prayer at night creates space for healing. Healing from the words that pierced you today. Healing from the mistakes that haunt you. Healing from the anxieties that want to claim your tomorrow before it even arrives. But there is more. A night prayer also invites blessing. Not the shallow kind of blessing that the world defines as temporary comfort, but the blessing of God's presence filling the very room where you lay. Blessing that surrounds your family. Blessing that guards your home. Blessing that whispers to your heart, "You are not alone tonight. I am with you." That awareness transforms the night into something sacred. The bedroom becomes a sanctuary. The bed becomes an altar. The silence becomes holy ground where heaven meets earth. And as prayer brings healing and blessing, it also infuses strength. Because sleep is not just about recovering energy. It is about preparing for the day to come. When you pray before sleep, you are not only asking God to close the chapter of today, you are asking Him to prepare you for tomorrow. Strength is renewed not only in the body but in the spirit. You rise not only refreshed but empowered, ready to face challenges because you already surrendered them the night before. So let this be the foundation of tonight's journey. This is not a simple routine. It is an encounter. This is not about escaping the struggles of life. It is about facing them with the assurance that you are covered, healed, blessed, and strengthened under the watchful care of the Almighty. Tonight, as you prepare to rest, you will discover that the night is not the end of something. It is the beginning of renewal, the invisible weariness of the soul. The body often reveals its fatigue with heavy limbs, slow movements, or the simple desire to collapse into bed. But the soul carries a different kind of weariness, one that is harder to see, yet far more difficult to bear. This invisible exhaustion is born not only from the demands of work or the tasks of the day, but from the constant weight of unspoken worries, unresolved conflicts, and silent disappointments that linger in the heart. You can sleep 8 hours and still wake up weary if your soul has not been restored. That is why night prayer is essential. It addresses the weariness beneath the surface, the heaviness no amount of physical rest can resolve. Think about the burdens you carried today. Perhaps it was a sharp word that left a wound, a decision that did not go as planned, or an argument that replayed in your mind long after it ended. Maybe it was the silent pressure of expectations you could not meet, or the quiet ache of loneliness even in a crowded room. These weights accumulate throughout the day, pressing against your spirit, leaving you drained in ways sleep alone cannot fix. And if you carry them into the night without surrender, they seep into your rest, turning it shallow and restless. This is why prayer at night is not an option, but a necessity. It is the moment when you lay these hidden burdens before God, when you choose not to carry them into tomorrow. It is an exchange. You offer Him your invisible weariness, and He gives you His peace. You give Him your wounds, and He gives you His healing. You surrender your doubts, and He clothes you with assurance. The act of voicing these things before God, even in whispered words, releases their power over you. The unspoken loses its grip when it is spoken in His presence. Consider how often people collapse into bed hoping that sleep itself will erase the weight of the day. But when morning comes, the heaviness remains, because it was never surrendered. The truth is that rest for the soul is not found in the absence of activity, but in the presence of God. It is not found in silence alone, but in communion. It is not found in forgetting, but in trusting. When you open your heart in prayer before sleep, you are not simply venting emotions, you are placing them in the hands of the one who can transform them. And the transformation is real. Anxiety loses its sharpness, guilt loses its sting, and sorrow begins to soften. The invisible weariness of the soul does not vanish by ignoring it. It dissolves when exposed to divine love. God does not dismiss your burdens as trivial. He recognizes them, He feels them with you, and He responds with rest that goes beyond the physical. Jesus Himself declared, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That rest is not confined to daylight hours. It is offered to you tonight, here now, before you close your eyes. So as you prepare for sleep, pause and reflect. What burdens are you carrying that no one else sees? What thoughts are weighing on you that you never voiced aloud? This is the moment to release them. This is the moment to lay them down in prayer and to invite God to cover you with the kind of rest only He can give. Because tomorrow does not need to inherit today's heaviness. Through prayer, the invisible weariness of the soul can be replaced with peace so deep that even in the silence of the night, you will know you are being renewed. The silence that reveals the wounds. Nighttime silence has a unique power. When the world grows quiet, when conversations fade and responsibilities pause, the absence of noise often gives rise to what we try to avoid during the day. Thoughts replay, memories resurface. The mistakes we pushed aside and the hurts we buried rise to the surface like whispers in the dark. Silence, though peaceful for some, can feel haunting for others. It is in these hours that unhealed wounds speak the loudest. Yet it is also in these very hours that prayer opens a door for God to touch those hidden places and bring healing no distraction can offer. During the busyness of the day, activity masks the pain. Work, errands, conversations, and tasks all serve as temporary bandages. But when night falls and the noise is gone, the heart is left exposed. A harsh word from earlier, a disappointment that lingers, or a grief carried for years can rise again, amplified by the stillness. Many people dread the night for this reason, not because of darkness itself, but because of the silence that strips away distraction and confronts them with what hurts most. This is why prayer before sleep matters so deeply. It invites God into that silence, not to suppress the wounds but to heal them. Think of how powerful it is to take the silence of the night and transform it into a sanctuary. Instead of allowing unhealed pain to echo endlessly, you allow the presence of God to fill the space. Prayer turns silence from an enemy into a friend. What once magnified your wounds now becomes the environment for healing. When you say, "Lord, touch the places I cannot fix, mend the areas I cannot reach," you are opening the deepest parts of your soul to the only one who can truly restore them. The silence of night also reveals the fears we disguise in daylight. Doubts about the future, regrets from the past, questions that seem to have no answers, they often come alive in the quiet. But here is the promise. God is not intimidated by what rises in silence. He is not afraid of your doubts, your regrets, or your pain. He meets you there, in the stillness, and speaks truth that cuts through the noise of fear. His voice is gentle yet strong, assuring you that no wound is too deep for his healing, no scar too old for his restoration. Consider this. What if the silence you once dreaded could become the very space where you found the deepest peace? That shift happens through prayer. Instead of avoiding the quiet, you enter it with confidence, knowing that you are not alone in it. You invite God to turn the night into holy ground. And as His presence fills the silence, wounds begin to close, pain begins to soften, and peace begins to settle. So tonight, do not run from the silence. Do not fill it with distractions that leave your soul untouched. Step into it with prayer. Allow God to meet you there, to transform it from a reminder of your pain into a stage for your healing. The silence that once revealed your wounds can now reveal His love. And when that happens, rest comes not only to your body, but to the deepest places of your heart. The presence that fills the room. When you close your eyes and the world around you grows still, the atmosphere of your room becomes more important than you realize. A room can carry tension or peace, fear or comfort, heaviness or lightness. But when you invite God into that space through prayer, everything shifts. The same four walls that held your exhaustion, your thoughts, and your burdens can be transformed into a sanctuary, a place where His presence is not abstract but tangible, filling the air with peace that surpasses understanding. Think about the difference it makes when the first awareness you feel before sleep is not loneliness, not dread, not heaviness, but the assurance that God Himself is near. His presence does not simply hover above, it saturates the atmosphere. It wraps around you like a blanket, it rests upon your heart like a calming hand. It moves through the silence with authority that drives away fear. Suddenly, the room is no longer just a physical space. It becomes holy ground. The bed becomes an altar of surrender, the quiet becomes a doorway to communion, and the entire night is redefined by the awareness of the one who dwells with you. This is not imagination. Scripture declares that God inhabits the praises of His people. When you lift words of prayer, when you whisper worship into the night, you create an environment where His presence manifests. Darkness cannot linger where light enters. Fear cannot dominate where faith is declared. The room that once felt heavy becomes light. The air that once carried tension now carries peace. It is not that the circumstances of your life vanish, but that His presence changes how they weigh upon you. Consider what happens to your mind when this presence fills the room. Thoughts that once ran wild begin to calm. Anxiety loses its power to accelerate the heart. Regrets no longer echo as loudly because the assurance of forgiveness speaks stronger. Even your body responds, muscles loosening, breath slowing, because peace has taken residence. Science may attribute this to relaxation, but those who have experienced God's presence know it is something deeper. It is not mere calm. It is communion. The presence of God in your room also acts as a shield. As you prepare to sleep, there is often fear of what could happen in vulnerability. Yet when you pray and His presence fills the space, you rest knowing that you are not unguarded. His angels stand watch. His Spirit surrounds. His eyes never close. The room becomes a fortress, not because of locks or alarms, but because the Almighty Himself has taken His place there. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, pause and invite Him in. Whisper His name, speak His promises, and picture the atmosphere shifting as His presence takes over. Imagine your room being filled with a light that no darkness can extinguish, with a peace that no fear can disturb, with a love that no wound can resist. When the presence of God fills the room, you are no longer lying in an ordinary space. You are resting in the sanctuary of the Most High, and that awareness allows you not just to sleep, but to rest in safety, in healing, and in blessing. Inner healing before sleep. The night offers a sacred opportunity that no other part of the day provides, the chance to heal inwardly before a new beginning arrives. While the body craves physical rest, the soul longs for release from the burdens it has carried. Prayer before sleep is where that release happens. It is the sacred space where wounds that linger, often unnoticed by others, are touched by the gentle hand of God. This healing is not shallow or temporary. It penetrates the deepest parts of the heart, restoring what the day may have damaged and what years may have left unresolved. Many people go to bed with invisible wounds. Words spoken in anger replay in the mind. Regrets from past decisions weigh heavily on the heart. Hidden fears about tomorrow's uncertainties tighten the chest. These wounds may not leave physical marks, but they steal rest, rob joy, and prevent renewal. If left unhealed, they harden over time, shaping how a person sees themselves, others, and even God. But the night is God's invitation to stop carrying what was never meant to be carried into tomorrow. Prayer becomes the act of placing those wounds in His hands, trusting Him to transform pain into peace. This healing often begins with honesty. Whispering, "Lord, I am hurt," or "Lord, I feel broken," may seem small, but it opens the door for divine restoration. God does not require elaborate words. He requires truth spoken from the heart. And in that truth, His Spirit begins to work. Sometimes healing comes as an overwhelming sense of peace, like a wave washing over the soul. Other times it is subtle, a quiet calm that reassures you that tomorrow will not look like today. In every case, His healing is real, reaching places no human comfort can touch. Consider the power of laying down to sleep with a heart at peace instead of a heart in turmoil. When you release your wounds to God, you do not merely rest, you heal as you sleep. Just as the body repairs itself in the night, the soul also repairs when it surrenders in prayer. Forgiveness becomes possible, both to others and to yourself. Bitterness loses its grip, anxiety loosens its hold. The scars may remain as reminders of the past, but they no longer define the future. Healing is not forgetting, it is transforming pain into testimony. Prayer before sleep is also a safeguard against carrying old wounds into new days. Each night is an opportunity to reset, to close the chapter of what hurt, and to allow God to write something new in the morning. Without this healing, wounds accumulate like weights, making each day heavier than the last. But with prayer, you release the day, and you wake renewed. This rhythm of surrender and healing creates resilience. Over time, the soul learns that pain is never final, that every night holds the potential for renewal, and that God's mercies are indeed new every morning. So as you prepare to close your eyes tonight, ask yourself, what wound am I still carrying? What heaviness is stealing the peace I long for? Bring it to God in prayer. Let His presence wrap around it. Let His Spirit breathe healing into it, and trust that as you rest, He is working. Night is not only for recovery, it is for restoration. And when you awaken tomorrow, you will rise not only rested, but healed. The shield that remains during sleep. When you close your eyes at night, you surrender control. You cannot guard yourself. You cannot monitor every sound or anticipate every event. Sleep is vulnerability, a time when you are most unaware of what surrounds you. Yet it is also the moment when God proves His power as protector. Prayer before sleep does not end when your words fade. It activates a shield that remains in place throughout the night, guarding body, mind, and spirit with a vigilance no human strength can maintain. The psalmist declared, "He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither slumber nor sleep." This truth means that while you rest, heaven is awake. The same God who carried you through the struggles of the day stands guard over you in the silence of the night. Where you are defenseless, He is strong. Where you are unaware, He is alert. His shield is not made of fragile material, but of eternal authority, covering you from dangers seen and unseen. Think of how many fears creep in when the lights go out. For some, it is the fear of the unknown, the worry of what could happen in the dark. For others, it is anxiety about tomorrow, pressing so strongly that it robs rest. Yet when you pray and entrust the night to God, you declare that fear will not dictate your sleep. You rest not because circumstances are perfect, but because the Almighty has placed His shield around you. The room becomes a fortress, not by locks or alarms, but by the presence of the One who never sleeps. This shield extends beyond the physical. It protects your thoughts, preventing nightmares, calming restlessness, and giving your mind the stillness it needs. How often have you gone to bed with a restless mind, only to wake up feeling more exhausted than when you lay down? That is the result of a spirit unguarded. But when you pray, you invite God to shield not only your body but also your inner world. Dreams are covered, thoughts are calmed, and the night becomes a place of true renewal. Consider also the spiritual battles that happen unseen. Scripture speaks of an enemy who prowls like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. These attacks often intensify in moments of vulnerability. Yet the shield of God is not passive, it is active. Angels stand guard, His Spirit surrounds, and His word remains a barrier no darkness can penetrate. While you sleep, He fights battles you never even know existed, victories secured in silence because you trusted Him to cover you. So tonight, as you lay your head on the pillow, do not see yourself as exposed. See yourself as encircled. Imagine the shield of God rising like walls around your room, His presence filling every corner, His angels stationed at every entrance. Know that while your eyes close, His remain open. You are not abandoned in the night. You are protected by an unbreakable shield that holds until the morning light. Prayer activates that reality, and once spoken, it continues to guard until dawn. Renewal of strength for tomorrow. The night is not only an ending, but a preparation. While the body longs for rest, the spirit longs for renewal. The hours of sleep are meant to do more than restore physical energy. They are designed by God to refill the well of your inner strength. Morning victories are decided by what happens the night before. When you pray before sleep, you are not only closing the door on the struggles of the day, you are opening the door for tomorrow's strength to be poured into your life. Think of how many mornings begin already heavy because the previous night ended in worry, distraction, or unrest. Without renewal, each day feels like a continuation of yesterday's exhaustion. But when you release burdens in prayer, you make room for God's Spirit to replenish you. Strength that was drained by conflict is restored. Peace that was lost in anxiety returns. Hope that seemed faint is rekindled. This is not psychological trickery. It is the supernatural exchange of human weakness for divine strength, a process God has promised to those who wait on Him. Isaiah declares, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." Night is the moment of that waiting. It is when you lay down every unfinished battle and choose to trust the one who never grows tired. In the stillness, He refills what the day emptied. In the silence, He breathes resilience into your soul. You do not have to wake tomorrow carrying yesterday's fatigue. Instead, you can rise with strength that feels new, not because the challenges vanished, but because you are renewed within them. Renewal through prayer also changes your mindset. Instead of waking with dread, you rise with expectation. Instead of stepping into the day uncertain, you step in with courage. Strength is not only physical stamina, it is the confidence to face decisions, the endurance to resist temptation, the patience to deal with difficulties, and the faith to walk into the unknown. When you pray at night, you invite God to cultivate these qualities within you, to prepare your heart for what you cannot yet see. Consider how transformative this is for your relationships, your work, and your inner peace. A weary soul snaps quickly, makes rash decisions, and loses sight of purpose. But a renewed soul responds with grace, thinks with clarity, and lives with intention. Renewal is not about escaping reality, but about being equipped to thrive within it. God does not remove every challenge, but He ensures you face them with the strength He has already supplied. So as you prepare to sleep tonight, do not think of it only as rest for your body. See it as a sacred transaction. In prayer, you lay down the weight of today, and in return, God fills you with the strength of tomorrow. You go to bed weary, but you wake resilient. You close your eyes uncertain, but you open them confident. Renewal is the gift of those who trust Him with the night, and it is available to you now if you will invite Him into your rest. The blessing that extends to the family. When you kneel in prayer at night, the impact does not stop with you. The words you speak, the faith you declare, and the presence you invite stretch beyond your own heart and cover those you love. Prayer is never contained within the walls of a single soul. It flows outward like light through open windows, spilling into the lives of your family. A nightly prayer is not only your shield, it becomes their covering, a blessing that surrounds your household in ways they may never see, but will always feel. Think about the power of declaring God's protection over your children as they sleep. The world may carry dangers you cannot control, but in prayer, you place them in hands far stronger than yours. You release them into the care of the one who never slumbers, who guards their dreams, who orders their steps even in the dark. That prayer becomes an unseen guard at the door of their room, a shield that turns the night into a safe haven. Even if they are unaware of it, their spirits rest under a blessing that your faith has activated. This extends beyond children. Spouses, parents, siblings, even friends carried in your heart. Your prayer reaches them. When you speak their names before God, you invite His presence into their circumstances. You may not be able to fix their struggles or ease their pain, but prayer releases blessing into their lives in ways your hands never could. It is the invisible thread that connects hearts across distances, uniting them under the same covering of divine care. The blessing of night prayer also reshapes the atmosphere of the home. A house filled with stress during the day can be reset in the evening by the words of faith spoken before sleep. Prayer pushes back heaviness, invites harmony, and plants seeds of peace that linger into the next day. Visitors may not know why the home feels different, but they will sense the presence of God resting there. This is the fruit of a heart that covers not only itself, but the entire household in prayer. Consider how many generational patterns are broken through nightly prayers. A parent who consistently prays over their home creates a legacy of faith that their children inherit. A family that ends the day together in prayer teaches resilience, unity, and trust. Even when difficulties arise, those prayers echo through the years, shaping the spiritual foundation of future generations. The blessing of one prayerful heart can ripple outward for decades, transforming not only the present but the future. So as you prepare for rest tonight, do not see your prayer as small or limited. See it as a river flowing beyond you, touching the lives of those you love most. Speak blessing over them. Declare peace for their hearts. Call upon God's strength to guard their steps. And trust that while they sleep, the same shield that covers you covers them too. Night prayer is not just personal devotion. It is a legacy of protection, a gift of blessing, and a force of strength that your family will carry long after the night has passed. The weight released into God's hands. As the night deepens, one truth becomes clear. You cannot carry the weight of life into tomorrow without it breaking you. Every burden you refuse to surrender compounds with the next, until rest is stolen and joy becomes distant. That is why prayer before sleep is not only an act of devotion, but a vital act of release. It is the moment when you choose to place what is too heavy for you into the hands of the one strong enough to bear it. The burdens of the day come in many forms. Some are obvious: financial strain, family conflict, health struggles. Others are quieter: the pressure of unspoken expectations, the ache of loneliness, the fatigue of trying to control what is beyond your reach. You may not speak them aloud, but they press against your heart with weight you feel in every breath. If you go to bed with these burdens still clinging to you, sleep becomes shallow, mind becomes restless, and tomorrow feels already lost before it begins. But when you surrender them in prayer, you are not escaping responsibility. You are entrusting them to God, whose wisdom far exceeds yours and whose power never fails. Consider the image of a child carrying a heavy load, stumbling under its weight. The parent does not demand that the child keep holding it alone. They step in, lift it up, and carry what the child cannot. That is what happens in prayer. When you say, "Lord, I give this to you," you are not being weak, you are being wise. You are acknowledging that some things are beyond human strength, and in that acknowledgement, you invite divine intervention. God does not ignore what you release to Him. He receives it, carries it, and works in ways unseen while you rest. This act of surrender is also a declaration of trust. To place your burdens into God's hands is to say, I believe you are greater than what I face. I believe you can handle what I cannot. Trust does not eliminate the existence of problems, but it changes their weight. What once pressed down on your spirit now rests in hands that never tire. And as you sleep, God is already at work in tomorrow's solutions, paving ways you cannot see, aligning circumstances beyond your reach. Think of the peace that comes when you know you no longer have to hold everything together. You are free to close your eyes without fear because you are not the one keeping the universe in motion. You are free to rest deeply because the same God who sustains the stars also sustains you. You are free to breathe again because every weight you carried is now resting in the hands that shaped heaven and earth. So tonight, pause before you sleep. Name the weights you are carrying. Speak them aloud if you can. Whisper them if you must. And then release them into God's hands. Do not pick them up again. Trust that He has them. Trust that He is working. Trust that His shoulders are strong enough to hold what yours cannot. When you do, you will discover that rest is no longer stolen by worry. Peace will return, healing will flow, and tomorrow will no longer feel overwhelming. Because the weight is no longer yours. It belongs to God, resting under the wings of the Almighty. The night is not meant to be a battlefield of worries, but a sanctuary of peace. Yet for many, the hours of darkness bring back memories, fears, and burdens that rob them of true rest. That cycle only changes when the night is entrusted into God's hands. A daily night prayer is not simply the final act before sleep. It is the declaration that you will not carry the day's weight into tomorrow, that you will not lie down unprotected, and that you will not allow fear to dictate the silence. It is the moment when you choose to rest under the wings of the Almighty. Throughout Scripture, God's presence at night is repeatedly described as both watchful and protective. He led Israel through the wilderness with a pillar of fire by night. He gave songs in the midnight hours. He promises that His mercies are new every morning, which means that night is the bridge between today's struggle and tomorrow's renewal. When you pray before sleep, you step onto that bridge. You declare that the night will not belong to shadows but to light, that your home will not echo with fear but with blessing, and that your rest will not be restless but filled with healing. Resting under His wings does not mean the absence of problems. It means the assurance that problems do not own you. It means the certainty that the shield of His presence is stronger than any threat. It means the peace of knowing that while you close your eyes, His never close. He who guards you neither slumbers nor sleeps. While you dream, He works. While you rest, He restores. While you lie still, He strengthens. This is why the conclusion of each day matters as much as its beginning. Ending the night in prayer frames your life in surrender and trust. You are no longer the one carrying every burden, solving every issue, or guarding every corner. You are the one resting in the arms of the Father who does those things for you. And that rest changes everything. The mind unclenches, the heart steadies, the body releases tension, and the spirit finds renewal. True sleep begins not when exhaustion forces it, but when peace invites it. So as you prepare to close this day, let your final words not be sighs of despair, but declarations of faith. Say, Lord, I rest under your wings. Heal what is broken, bless what is fragile, strengthen what is weary, and guard what I love. And then close your eyes, knowing that the night is no longer yours to manage. It is His to watch over. You are covered. You are kept. You are safe. This is the gift of night prayer, the transformation of darkness into peace, of silence into sanctuary, of sleep into renewal. Rest tonight under the wings of the Almighty, and when dawn comes, rise renewed, blessed, and strong, because the God who kept you in the night is the same God who will carry you through the day.